Welcome back to another episode of Playing Voodoo. I'm your host Derek, and today I will be recapping Australian Survivor Heroes vs. Villains episode 14. And whoa, it was a big one. Yes, we finally got the merge. The tribes have merged. We have the anti-heroes and the super villains together. And yeah, it went down. It really went down. So typically, on these formats for these episodes, I've been giving my top 5 moments. I'm going away from that for the rest of the season. Now I'm going to give a power rankings of players in which I believe they will win. So the lowest number being 11 remaining would be the person I think has the least chance of winning. And number 1 is who I think's the front runner right now to win Australian Survivor Heroes vs. Villains. So let's just start with a recap of what went down in the episode. David was blindsided. Yes, David was blindsided. George had 7 votes. He said it several times. He even said it to Sean in a conversation with him. We have 7. You better jump off the sinking ship while you can and join us. Yes, George had himself, Shawnee, Liz, Jerry, Haley, Matt, and Simon all vote David. Originally, it was going to be Sam. I almost got that right. I said last episode I thought it was going to be Sam. We'll see. It might be Sam next episode. But David goes home. Another new player gone, leaving 3 remaining. Yeah, 3 remaining out of the 11. And those that were on the outside of the vote were Sean, who voted Liz, Flick, Nina, David, and Sam, who all voted for Shawnee. So now, with 11 people left, you would think it would be 7v4 moving forward. It's not. Survivor's never that clear. It's not going to be like that. The lines are going to blur again. Honestly, I would not be shocked if this was similar to what we saw with Second Chance in Survivor, which I believe was season 31, which Jeremy won. I think we're going to have voting blocks. I think it makes the most sense. There's so many threats in this game, so many shields, that it's just gonna be voting block after voting block. It will be kind of unclear who's working with who, other than some small factions are working together. Like, we know George and Jerry are pretty much lock in step, moving together, moving forward, and possibly even Matt with them. That's gonna be a trio. But we don't know if those that voted with them this vote will vote with them next vote, like Haley. We saw in the preview, she's not here to play George's game. Obviously, she's not going to go to the end with George again, although it did work out for her the first time around in Brain vs. Brawn because she won. And then Simon. Yes, Simon voted with George. Wow. I am shocked, to say the least. We've come so far from last season in Brain vs. Brawn with them having their jabs at each other. And then this season, with them both being on the villains tribe, in which we see that huge blindside of Fraser. Respects to Fraser. And down goes Fraser. I should have said that. But, yeah, they pretty much made a mockery and foolery of Simon. But, you know who else did? The original heroes. They did let him in initially until they found out the cookie idol was fake, and then he's become a lone wolf. The door was not back open for him. But that's the thing about George. He's always transparent. In my eyes, from my estimation, from what I see on the TV, he's actually quite transparent in the deals that he's making with people. Now, will those deals last a vote? More than likely, yes, just 1 vote. They could potentially parlay into lasting longer moving forward. But man, I can't believe Simon voted with George and company. Wow. To top it all off, Liz, oh my gosh. She played her idol correctly. Now, I know she did not need her to play her idol, and I do not know how George read that correctly, that they had all 7 votes. From everything that we saw, I was kind of certain that they might lose one of the votes, possibly Simon. I thought Matt would stay on the vote, and I thought that would be enough, considering we knew that the heroes were going to split their votes between Shawnee and Liz, meaning 6 votes would be enough But I still applaud Liz for playing her idol because Shawnee did receive 4 votes. And you know what Shawnee did? Shawnee gave Liz and Jordy an idol when they were in trouble. And Jordy did not play his idol and went home with it. So this is payback from Liz. I think that buys her goodwill. Those two are very, very tight. I don't see that separation happening at all between those two. It's not going to come from within, obviously. So we'll see when people try to target it again. They tried to this episode to no avail because man, oh man. And the Spice Girls, yes, the Spice Girls are victorious. The 4 Spice Girls, that being George, Liz, Shawnee, and Jerry. We love to see it. We're big fans of them. We're hoping they win. I know Alex is pulling for them. I'm pulling for them. And hey, I might even have one of them as my favorite to win Australian Survivor Heroes vs. Villains. A few more things I do want to talk about before I get into my power rankings. My apologies. The new tribe name, Fa'a Mole Mole. Cool name. Yeah, I like it. Really fun. And I do want to talk about the challenge. This challenge, I love it. I love it. Classic Survivor. We've seen it in Australian Survivor. We've seen it in US Survivor. But I will note, Australian Survivor just does it better. I don't know how, but they do. Because this was on season 43 for US Survivor. And you know what happened? The castaways outlasted the waves. Because production doesn't mess around in Australian Survivor. Yes, they know how to get it done. And essentially, they build it in such a way that the tides won't go back down before pretty much everyone will, except for one, will be done. So yeah, props to Australian Survivor. I love the challenge. Now, do I need to see it every season? Not particularly. I mean, I do love it. It's nice to have variety. So maybe every 3 seasons or so, I'd say, is bring it back. I just love it. It's a classic challenge. And who else would have guessed that would have won it other than Matt? Yes, Matt won the challenge, the lifeguard. Makes sense in my mind why he won. And speaking of Matt, he was pivotal in this vote out of David. Yes, George was relying heavily on Matt's word that he would work with them come the merge. We saw this plan to action kind of come about these last few episodes at the Heroes Beach. And I'm honestly surprised that Matt did it. I did think he was kind of being a little disingenuous in his word. I thought the whole time, yeah, he's just going to go back to the Heroes tribe. But you know what? George and Jerry, they worked. They knew that they could trust Matt and they couldn't trust Flick. Because you saw what happened this episode. Matt voted with them, and Flick, who Shawnee and Liz demanded, or I shouldn't say demanded, pleaded to save the previous episode, turned their back on them, and even Flick voted Shawnee. We even saw Shawnee take a jab at Flick this episode, saying, "Thanks, Flick." Yeah, man, this episode so good. But I do want to pivot back to Matt a bit. I was confused last episode. I thought George pivoting towards the vote to go for Stevie when he asked Jerry, "Hey, do you want to go Stevie or Matt?" I thought it was a mistake going Stevie because Stevie's reliable. He's a reliable vote in my estimation. But they made the right call. They made the right call. I mean, it would have been better to keep Stevie and Matt, but and vote out Flick, that tribal. But out of the two that they kept, hey, Matt made the move, and maybe keeping Matt made the Heroes feel more comfortable to where they didn't have, they just didn't have a plan of action to go against George that worked. Maybe if Flick wasn't there, it would have gone differently. But having Matt there kind of gave the Heroes a sense of comfort that, hey, he's with us. But in reality, he's with George and Jerry, and from what we gathered, from what he said, he's with them for the long run. We'd love to see it. I think that's a smart move on his part. I want to get into my episode power rankings. Yes. So this is as of episode 14, has just concluded. I want to speak through about and rank the castaways remaining for who I think least is going to win to most is going to win, who's the front runner, and who has no chance, essentially. So starting at the bottom, number 11, it has to be Sam. Yes, Sam lost his number 1 in David. He's gone. The only thing that was keeping him, presumably Nina and Sam close was David. So that bond is gone. We've seen Sean even put a vote against him, we've seen Sean tell people to vote votes against him in that Geordie vote out, that huge tribal council that went down. Sam's received votes. We even saw this episode in which that side of 7 was going to vote Sam until George spilled the beans to Sean. That was the plan. And then they changed it last minute to David. It pretty much seems like Sam's going to go next episode. I don't know how he plans on carving a path moving forward. I really don't know, to be honest. So that's why he's number 11. At number 10, I think number 10, I'm going to go Flick. So we've seen Flick play with several of the people on this season and the previous season, that being Australian Survivor, Brains vs. Brawn. And that was with Simon, Shawnee, and George. Now, she's not going to work with Shawnee and George moving forward. It's pretty clear that she is a number that's not on their side. And I would be hard-pressed to believe that either George or Shawnee go in the next few tribals. And if that's the case, then I think Flick is an option for them to vote out. We even saw George mention, hey, Simon, whoever you want out next episode, like Flick, for example, who she dogged him when recapping the story of the idol and it being fake, saying that Simon knew, and they obviously have their history as well in Australian Survivor, Brains vs. Brawn. So yeah, Flick's in a pretty bad spot. I'm not sure how she's going to maneuver moving forward, but we've seen her work her social skills before, so maybe she can climb out from the bottom and do it again. Yeah, we'll see. But for now, she's number 10. At number 9. So this one's interesting. I think for number 9, I'm going to go with Simon. So leading into this episode, I said that Simon was in a better position than people believed, and he actually was. He was nobody's target this episode. I still don't think he's going to be anyone's target moving forward for at least the next 2 to 3 tribal councils. He's in a good spot. He can kind of go either way. He can still... Now, he voted with George and the Spice Girls, the rest of the Spice Girls this episode, but I could see him going back to the Heroes and voting with them the next vote, honestly. It could be something like that. That would not shock me in the least, to be honest. But at the same token, he still needs to build trust with lots of people. So this vote, he voted with his number 1 enemy, George. How much further can he trust that moving forward? I don't know. I wouldn't, to be honest. You got to take it vote by vote. But if I'm Simon, I'm trying to strike sooner than later against George again, because you just can't wait too late to where you don't have the numbers to do so. So that's why I think Simon's number 9. At number 8, I'm going to put Sean here. Yes. So we know Sean has a hidden immunity idol. He has quite a good relationship with the people he voted with this past tribal, that being Flick, Sam, maybe not so much because Sam knows he's lied to him, and Nina. Yeah, Nina's working with him as well. Additionally, he has still relationships with Haley and Simon. Now, Haley and Simon both did not vote with Sean this episode, but we've seen in the preview, looks like Sean, who is Simon's favorite, someone he looks up to for Survivor lore, one of his favorites. Maybe they work together again moving forward. Hey, it's a clean slate. Once a blindside happens like this, the floodgates open for more things to happen. And Haley, we've seen pretty much since early on, Haley and Sean have been working side by side. I would not be shocked if Haley uses Sean to create a blindside against George, maybe come like final 8 or something. So that's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, Sean has had some inroads with certain people, and I can see him maneuvering moving forward. Now George did give him a lifeline, saying, "Vote with us. You're on a sinking ship." I mentioned that earlier. He didn't take it. Will George throw another lifeline? Honestly, possibly. I could see that happening, just because it seems like, at least for now, that Sam and Flick are the two next priorities for that group of 7 to vote out. So we'll see. But yeah, that's my reasoning for having Sean at number 8. Right? Yeah, 8. So far at number 11, I had Sam 10, Flick 9, Simon, Sean 8. So at number 7, I feel like I need to. It's interesting. I don't want to slant too heavily onto this Alliance of 7 because I don't think it will last the whole time. So at this point, I think I will put Haley. Yes, Haley. So George has been building this relationship with Haley. We've seen them play before, and throughout this season, we've seen them chatting during and after challenges, even George warning her that Nina was planning a blindside against her. Could George still use that against Nina moving forward? Honestly, possibly. And why not put Nina here? Well, I'll get to it. But, yeah. Honestly, I just think that George is probably going to find him or Haley are going to find a way to knock each other out. And it's not going to be soon, but it's going to be sooner rather than later, because you can't let them get the numbers when you're down to the nitty gritty. You can only wait so long. And Haley, I'm not sure she will have the numbers to strike at George when she thinks it's fit. Because, like I said earlier, we've seen George. She has a grasp on these numbers. I did not think going into this tribal council they had 7, but they had 7 votes. They had the 7. I'm still flabbergasted by that. But yeah, I have to put Haley at number 7 I just have to. At number 6. So, I think for here, this is where I'm going to put George. Now, George has played a tremendous game to date. Yes, first episode, we see him get injured, possibly out of the game due to medical evacuation, but he returns. But you know what happens that episode? He loses his 2 closest allies at that time. Yes, he was going to be working with Jackie. He was going to be working with Angeli. Jackie, medevaced. Angeli voted out first vote, and that is before he steps back into camp. So he's already down 2 people, and he just pretty much builds himself up from there, and he's played almost a perfect game to date, to be honest. One of the mistakes he made, obviously, this episode was telling Sean how the vote was going. That was foolish. And I honestly thought it was kind of foolish at Tribal he revealed a little much, saying something about like him going rather than her. So I just think, honestly, I'd love to put George higher, but I have to be realistic about this. I do want him to win. One of the Spice Girls, to be honest. Any of the Spice Girls, I want to win. But I just think he's too big of a threat to leave in the game, and I don't see that happening moving forward, to be honest. We'll see. This would be a lot different if George had not played before. I probably would have him number 1, but considering we know how he's played and where he finished, I'm hard-pressed to think that would happen again. So we have 5 people remaining. Those 5 people being Nina, Liz, Shawnee, Jerry, and Matt. At number 5, I'm going to go with Shawnee. Yes, another one of the returnees. I know. This season, the returnees have dominated. There's 8 returning players left, 3 new players left. However, in my top 4, it's pretty much the new players that are still in the game, that being Matt, Jerry, and Liz. Yeah, I just think that it's fit for them to get quite far, but I want to talk more about Shawnee. She made a miscalculation last tribal, episode 13, in which she stuck her neck out pretty much to save Flick. Mistake. Yes, it was quite the mistake. Did it cost her? I mean, it did cost them an idol this time around. It almost cost them an idol at that tribal. She's played really well. She's had really good social reads. Like this episode, she mentioned she was nervous about Simon. She was right in that estimation. Simon, from what we saw, he was up in the air 50-50 about what to do, who to trust for this vote. Very good read on Shawnee's part. And yeah, she even was quick to admit that she was right in that she made a mistake in keeping Flick. And yeah, it almost cost her, but it didn't this time around. But at the same token, she's a 3-time player. Yes, she's played 3 times. And we have to see she's a big threat. So her name's come up several tribal councils now, and I wouldn't be shocked if it still comes up. Maybe her and the Spice Girls find more idols. They probably don't, so we'll see. But for now, I have her number 5. At number 4, I think I have to put... I'm going to put Jerry. No. I'm going to put Jerry here. I think Jerry will get quite far. He's definitely being underestimated for his abilities. He's decently strong in the challenges, and he's built quite the social bonds with the George and the other Spice Girls. And honestly, I could see him. Yeah, I see him getting quite far in this game. So that gets to his high ranking. But he was also able to bring in Matt for this vote. Him and George did. They secured it. We did not see that. Like I said, I did not see Matt actually flipping, but he did. You have to give props to Jerry for that. He saw that out, him and George both. So yeah, I just think Jerry's pretty much in a spot where he's not going to be a target. He's a new player. Everyone else is a big threat around him. So the big threats are going to be gunning for each other, and that allows these new players near the top to kind of just sneak through, just ease on by. So I have Jerry at number 4. At number 3, here is where I'm going to put Liz. Yes. So we've seen a lot of Liz. I even applauded her this episode for her idol play for Shawnee. I think it was a smart play, to be honest, because I was not sure where the votes were going to go. But turns out that they had the votes regardless. She's in a good spot. Her and Shawnee, they built kind of a 1-2. They can really trust each other for anything. They played idols for each other. They gave each other idols when they were on separate tribes. And she's built a bond with David, Sam, and Nina at one point. Maybe she can leverage that further down the line. That's a bond we know George does not have. Neither does Shawnee. So Liz is in a really good spot. And similar to Jerry, she's a new player. She's surrounded by all these big threats. However, she is kind of seen as a big threat, which is surprising, but I mean, it is what it is. I do think she'll fly under the radar here a bit, though, because we still have George, Shawnee, Haley, Sean, Simon, all still in the game. So yeah, I just see her flying under the radar. And that's why I have her at number 3. At number 2, this is where I'm going to put Nina. Yes, I'll put Matt here, actually. At number 2, Matt. So Matt, he made the flip this vote. Did not see that coming, like I've said. And he's in it for the long run. I could see him maybe... He's going to obviously... Will he flip on George? I think he will. But man, if he's really with Jerry and George till the end, that'd be shocking. And if that's the case, then I need to have George a lot higher on this list than I currently do. But I don't think that will be the case. I think at some point George will get taken out. But similarly, Matt's a new player. He won immunities today. Maybe he can win more immunities, show his physical prowess, along with his social prowess. He was able to be a key cog in this vote to vote out David, and he's going to fly under the radar. Yeah, these new players, there's only 3 of them left. I can't stress that enough. I know I've been saying it over and over again, but there's only 3 of them left. I really think they're just going to fly under the radar at this point because I just don't see them being targeted, to be honest. So that's why I have Matt number 2. And at number 1, I just said her name, possibly for number 2, but I decided to put her number 1. Yes, my list is fluid right now. I'm putting Nina. So the connection's clear. Her mom won U.S. Survivor Heroes vs. Villains in Samoa. And now here we are. Yeah, here we are. Decades later. Well, not 2 decades, but you get what I'm saying. Here we are. And her daughter, Nina, is about to win Australian Survivor Heroes vs. Villains. That is what I think is going to happen. I think she's in a spot to really pivot hard from this last vote. And I think she can really assimilate within that 7. Maybe she works with Matt and Jerry. I don't think Jerry has any bad blood against Nina. So, and that seems to be what's driving some of these votes for what might happen in the future. So I could really see her just like sliding on through. And I know she's not a new player. She played on Australian Survivor Blood vs. Water the previous season, but she didn't make it. I don't know. She doesn't really have that aura to her like the others do, the returning players this season. But that I don't think that matters because I think she's really in a good spot to kind of move forward. The only thing that I could see working against her from this point is that mentioning that George mentioned to Haley that Nina was trying to blindside her. Yes, that could come back to bite her, and maybe I'll regret putting her number 1. But I just feel it. It's a good instinct that I'm going with that she will be the Australian Survivor Heroes vs. Villains winner. And those are my power rankings. Just to recap, I had at number 11, I had Sam, 10, Flick, 9, Simon, 8, Sean. At 7, I had, who'd I have? I had Haley. Yeah, Haley. 6, George. 5, Shawnee. 4, I had Jerry. 3, Liz. 2, Matt. 1, Nina. Those are my rankings. I'll be updating them after every episode, so be sure to keep tuning in and keep me on on point for what I think is happening. I also want to hear from you guys. Who do you guys think is going to win? Let me know down in the comments. This has been a fiery season. I'm really looking forward to it. Want to mention before we go, U.S. Survivor Season 44 is going to air this week, this Wednesday. We will be potting about it later in the week with Alex and Martin possibly. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be an exciting one. If you're not already, check out our Survivor Season 44 draft. It is up on YouTube and Spotify. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at PlanVoodooPod if you've not already. This is Plan Voodoo, where split vote is not safe.